this video, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the strength and conditioning routines that I do to help ensure that I'm in top shape when it comes to races. So you might have seen in some of my weekly summaries when I've mentioned I've done strength and conditioning, I'll delve into a little bit more detail around what that entails. So first off, it's worth pointing out that you don't need specific equipment. There's loads of great apps out there for equipment-free workouts, but it is important that when you are doing workouts that it actually complements your run training, your triathlon training, rather than just doing pointless, non-specific, non-progressive strength and conditioning training. So within my strength and conditioning routine, I have 3 different phases. The first is around balance and stability, and that aligns with the specific stage of the training, so the run training program as well, and that's very much about the base phase, getting the body ready for then the build phase, which will come after that. The second stage of strength and conditioning looks at strength more, so it's more your traditional heavier weights, lower reps, and then the final phase is power, and that's more about explosive exercises, and that links with the training plan, the competition phase of training. And then you have the final phase of a run training plan, a triathlon training plan, which is the taper. And with strength and conditioning, there may be minimal to some slight maintenance strength and conditioning at the start of the taper period, but by that stage you're really cutting out the strength and conditioning from the program. Delving into each of those a little bit more, the first one, as I mentioned, is around balance and stability, and that involves a lot of single leg exercises and making use of things such as wobble boards, getting your balance, as well as working on other elements, and particularly the core. So it could be things like press-ups with rotations, lots of single leg balances and single leg drills, such as single leg squats without weights, such as pistol squats, and also single leg Romanian deadlifts, those sort of exercises. The second element, which I'll be moving into, so with my 30-week UTMB training plan, I'll move into the second phase of strength and conditioning, probably in week 9, and that is looking at strength, and that's your more traditional weight lifting type exercises, so squats with the bar behind me, for example, more traditional, say, bench press, upper body weights, shoulder press, as well as maintaining some of that single leg drill as well, because with running in particular being a single leg load bearing activity per step, therefore I do maintain a lot of the balance and single leg type drills to make sure that I'm not missing out on those going forward. The final phase, the power phase, are more about explosive exercises, so that may be squat jumps. So to take you through a very simple example of what that may look like in terms of the 3 phases, it could be that you find you've got poor balance, and a simple drill to check your balance, for example, is to stand one leg with your eyes shut and see how long you can maintain that for. So the first phase of that may be actually just doing that if you don't have any equipment at home, just standing a single leg with your eyes shut and trying to balance for as long as possible, and then maybe doing sort of single leg calf raises, for example. The second phase then be moving into single leg squats and deep squats. Again, could be purely body weight, and that would be your strength phase, and then the final phase may be squat jumps and also maybe single leg hops onto a box or onto a step, for example. So you can see how the 3 phases progress from working on the initial balance phase, building up the strength, and then that explosive exercise at the end. And with these routines, I typically try and do 2 a week. And with all of them I then finish with a core session, and that's not just the abdominals but a lot of obliques, lower back as well, rotational exercises, so things like Russian twists, to make sure that the core is stable as well. And I'll probably throw in a third element of core as well, a third session of core a week as well, so that will maybe be strength and conditioning, for example, on a Tuesday and a Thursday, and then a separate core session on a Sunday after my long run, as an example. I also have within each strength and conditioning set activation, warm-up and activation exercises, and that will involve some foam rolling as well. And then there's the main set, and then the final element of that will be cool downs, which will be static stretching and again some more foam rolling. And by putting that very structured routine in for all strength and conditioning programs, it makes sure that I am doing static stretching and also the foam rolling, which is easy to neglect. Now, strength and conditioning is one of those ones which I think is a key principle to ensuring overall fitness and overall progression, and it's one which is often easy to push back. You'd much rather go out for a run and maybe skip a strength and conditioning one if you're tight in time, but it is important to ensure that you do some to try and maintain and help your running. It helps with posture, it helps with overall strength, it can help with running technique, so it is an important element to include in any training program. And I found that out the hard way when I did Lavaredo last year. After about 50 miles of running, 80 kilometers, my left knee started hurting, and a few months later I then did another race of the same distance. I didn't have any issues, and the only difference I had to my training was I incorporated strength and conditioning and almost prehab exercises to try and minimize the likelihood of injuries occurring. So it's well worth incorporating in your training routine. As I mentioned, you don't need gym equipment. If you've got it, great. That's particularly beneficial for when you've got the strength phase. But there's loads of great apps out there, websites. Just make sure that, as I mentioned, you're making it progressive and it complements the stage of training that you're in. Because you don't want to be doing, for example, heavy weight sessions in the strength phase a few weeks before a race, where you want to be doing your power phase and then tapering down. I hope you found this video useful. If you've enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and make sure you share it with anyone who you may think may enjoy it, and I will see you next time.